We are very glad that you are here today. My name is Mary C. Miller. My husband and I retired from careers in education and ministry in July 2015 and moved to Norwood from Tucson, Arizona. You might ask, how in the world did I get involved in this process after living here for such a short time? That's a really good question. My husband and I remodeled and settled into our house near Xavier University when we were quickly confronted with attitudes about Norwood we weren't expecting. Perplexed and concerned, I asked a few people I knew, and they suggested talking to Angela to get her perspective on where this was coming from. Unbeknownst to me, that was the beginning of an amazing adventure. After leaving the coffee shop that day, I put the conversation on the back burner until I saw a next door post about a resident group called Norwood First that was meeting to make positive changes in Norwood. Angela and I attended a meeting where I was promptly asked to chair the Economic Development Committee. That small committee met, and we quickly decided we need help. We need to find out what other communities were doing. So we were tasked with interviewing similar communities and organizations specializing in community planning. So we went to Madisonville, we went to Price Hill a couple of times, Westwood, the CBI, Community Building Institute. All of the interviews came back with the same suggestion. You need a quality of life plan. We reported back, and having no idea what we were doing, decided we needed to move forward. Angela invited me to a Place Matters lunch and introduced me to Kathy Schwab from LISC. And when we left the lunch, we talked about the process in the car, and we said, now is the time. A Norwood First Community Engagement Group was also meeting and making plans for park cleanups, markets, and more. The ground was set for community planning, so with lots of help, we started this process.
Hello, my name is Angela Pansella. I moved to Norwood in February of 2006, but I didn't really get connected in the city until I became the director of Woven Oak Initiatives. That's a nonprofit whose mission is to catalyze the common good in Norwood. Before that, I worked for nonprofits in Over the Rhine, and I fell in love with the community spirit lifted up by places like Our Daily Bread and Peasley Neighborhood Center. While working in Over the Rhine, I started hearing about an initiative called Place Matters. In Place Matters, different neighborhoods in the greater Cincinnati area, like Madisonville and Price Hill, had residents that had organized, created plans together, and had worked together for their future. I liked this approach because every neighborhood is different, and the residents are the experts on what their own neighborhood wants or needs. I decided that if ever I did nonprofit work in Norwood, I wanted to help make this happen where I lived. And then I started working for Woven Oak, and I met Mary C., and here we are. So here's a quick summary of the process for those who may be new to this. First, our team met with LISC, the Local Initiatives Support Corporation, and community organizer Jim Caprero, who gave us an organizing model to follow. We recruited a 10-person steering committee team from Norwood Neighborhood Services, Norwood First, and the Norwood Community Coalition. We each met with people that we identified as formal and informal community leaders. Then we collected the data from 70 one-on-one interviews. Everyone's comments fell into 8 subject areas: government, partnerships, perception, economic development, infrastructure, community engagement, inclusion, and housing. We invited the whole city to a report back and a visioning session to share what we learned. Next, we realized government and partnerships overlapped all the other areas, so we narrowed our focus to the 6 priorities you'll hear from today. We invited people to co-chair action teams and invited any interested community members to create goals and strategies for each of the priority areas. Through all these steps, which took over a year and 850 volunteer hours, We drafted a community agreement which we reviewed, finalized, sent to publication. And you will get a copy before you leave today.
If you were involved in this process in any way, if you were interviewed, if you were on the steering committee, if you came to the report back, if you're or the visioning, if you were on an action team, we'd like you to please stand right now. We want to say a special thank you to a few people who have held our hands and walked with us through this whole process. One is Hillary Cannon, who's done a lot of writing for us. She's back in the back. Allison Taylor, our point person from LIST, we could not have done this without her. We also received help from Emma Shirey and Valerie Daly from CBI. They're back in the back. And of course, our consultant, Jim Cabrera, who's right in the middle here. Jim, raise your hand. We are very thankful for all of them, and we're especially appreciative of LISC, the support they've given us, CBI, Interact for Health, and Xavier University for letting us use this fantastic space today. And our partners are on the back of the brochure you'll receive when you leave, include many city officials, and we'd also like to thank them and everyone who's a partner. I think we have some city officials here today. Would you guys please stand? We want to recognize you, and then partners is quite an impressive list of the people who have worked with us, and we are very, very thankful. We'd also like to recognize Congressman Brad Wenstrup, who's here to give our keynote today. We're just very, very thankful for all the support we've received. As I mentioned earlier, I personally had no idea the extent of the process I was getting involved in, nor did I know the amazing people I would meet, beginning with the interviews, continuing through the visioning, and especially the committed Norwood residents who have put in hours of time to work on this process. I have learned so much from these meetings that we've attended and from all the people that I've interacted with. The enthusiasm, energy, and bonding that occurred at every meeting was a joy to watch. Friendships have been made, creative ideas have been generated, spin-offs have been given energy and competence, partnerships have been formed, neighbors have followed through with projects that were just thoughts in the past. And now, I have a host of neighbors that I now call friends.
I echo that. What motivates me most for working on behalf of Norwood are the lives of the children here. I don't have children of my own, but many of my friends have growing families. I think of my friends' kids, Ruby, Magdalena, and Amarie, who are all 3 years old or younger. I want them growing up in a community that is engaged, inclusive, with a strong economy, good housing, a positive self-image, and great infrastructure. And now that this amazing crew has come together, I have so much hope for them and for all of us.
The goals and strategies are written. The next step is implementation of these goals and strategies. Plans are already in progress to put many of them in place. There's an opportunity to join. If you're here today, and if at this point you want to get involved, we want you. You could be part of working together for Norwood's future. Now, we'd like you to hear from some of our amazing Norwoodians to tell you their story and plans that have been made in each of the 6 priority areas.
Hi, my name is Dane Miller. I belong to her. As a quality of life process unfolded over the last year and a half or so, I worked with the subcommittee that asked questions about the perception of Norwood, both from inside the community as well as outside. Anticipating our retirement move from Tucson in July of 2015, this is a critical issue for us. My wife and I had hoped to be part of a community that was working to rebuild itself from within, that was diverse in population, and that offered options for connecting with others who were involved in those kinds of interests. We wanted to know about Norwood. When we told others that we were buying in Norwood, the most common response from people outside the city was, "Why would you ever move to Norwood?" Other reactions, more specific in content, were sentiments like, "You must be some kind of a hillbilly to live in Norwood." Or, "Isn't there a lot of crime there? Do you think you'll be safe?" Or, "It's a good thing your kids are raised because the schools there are really bad." We wondered why we got those reactions from people who had lived in the Cincinnati area. And perhaps a story centering around one corner in the heart of Norwood provides a partial answer, echoed in the old Creedence Clearwater Revival, and I'm dating myself a little bit here, "Down on the corner, out in the streets." This corner narrative unfolded about two women who stole several large decorative planters from the corner of Williams Avenue and Ellesmere, just across the street from Williams Elementary School. The ladies pulled up in a truck, proceeded to load up those pots, and drive away over the protests of a resident who questioned them about what they were doing while she was trying to dial the police. That story got play, as you can see, in the local news. It was a partial confirmation to us about what we had heard about Norwood. However, what we found more broadly in Norwood was something more akin to what we had hoped for, a community with changing dynamics, redefining itself in the face of changing economic and social life. Some other issues of local government and infrastructure, finances, and school system were clearly being addressed. And we discovered small groups of people doing fascinating work to enhance neighborhoods and organizations. For instance, the story of the flower pot thieves took place on the same corner as the productive and attractive Williams Avenue Community Garden, which has provided a place for residents to plant and harvest, meet and talk and work together. It is also the corner where each summer month local artisans, musicians, farmers, bakers, and organizations have gathered for the Williams Avenue Farmers Market. Now, on the other side of Norwood, a similar corner houses a small restaurant operating on Friday nights, serving and desserts using vegetables and fruits grown in the neighborhood gardens to patrons in a pay-as-you-can approach. It's a pretty novel idea. The best thing there, the crabapple tarts made from the crab apples from our neighbor's backyard. 300 pounds of crab apples. That little restaurant, Mariah Pie, is operated by volunteers who also give back a portion of the proceeds to multiple nonprofit groups each year. It is quite a remarkable approach to business and building community, but you better get there early if you want a seat. Discussing many of those positive stories among ourselves, part of our team's approach to this mixture has been the recognition of the need to rebuild the economic structure of Norwood through increasing business opportunities, upgrading facilities and roads, and offering people a chance to renovate properties without driving others out of the city. I recently read a quote from another Cincinnati neighborhood's successful renovation. "Perception is the primary issue in new business investment in community." This is some real wisdom, I think, on their part. Subsequently, we also addressed the visual impressions of storefronts, signs, street corners, and parks, and identifying the strengths of schools and teachers and how neighborhoods are connected. We want those down on the corner conversations to focus on the positive movement of life in Norwood. One of those approaches to that has been championed and developed by Maggie Kingsley. Maggie, would you lay out your vision for us?
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you're here, and I'm excited to tell you a little bit about what we have got in the works and that we're working on. So before I tell you more about our plan, I'd like to start with a story. So Sally and Mark have lived in Norwood their entire lives, and more specifically, in their home on South Jefferson Avenue for over 30 years. They've raised their kids in this home, and they've put a lot of time and energy into making their home their own over the years. Mark has taken me around his home to show me every little thing that they've done. So I know all the sweat and tears that they have put into this home. Jane and Nick have also lived in Norwood their entire lives and have lived in their home on South Jefferson Avenue for over 50 years. These families live on the same side of South Jefferson. There are 2 homes between them. And Sally and Mark and Jane and Nick, they met for the first time on my porch party in July of 2018. So again, my name is Maggie Kingsley, and my husband, 2 kids, and I have lived in Norwood since 2017. We choose to be here because we love it here. I specifically am passionate about creating human connections through neighboring and have joined the Quality of Life team last year, ready to make things happen. By increasing the connection of the residents of Norwood to each other and to our town, we ultimately will begin to change that perception of our town both inwardly and outwardly, not only within Norwood, but those outside of where we are. We believe something as simple as intentional neighboring. Intentional neighboring can change Norwood, starting with block captains. This concept is not new, but it is an art that has been lost. Block captains are leaders who will work to coordinate their group of streets in social gatherings, community building, and engagement through block parties, holiday parties, new neighbor welcome baskets, progressive dinners, meal trains, and more. It's really up to the block captain to decide what their block wants, needs, and is excited about. The goal of this is to increase knowing your neighbors, getting to know each other, community camaraderie, and neighborhood investment. Now, people all over Norwood have been spearheading their own gatherings between neighbors, and the pictures behind me show you many of the porch parties, block parties, movie nights, and the fun that people have already been cultivating. So this isn't new, but block captains are going to bring this to a whole new level, take it further to a bigger scale. Over the past couple of months, we've been able to identify over 30 Norwoodians who will be participating as block captains. And I had people earlier also sign up, so the number is growing. On March 30th, we will have a launch party scheduled to provide direction, tips and tricks, to give ideas about how we get road closures done, communication with neighbors, and more. Please let me know if you're interested in being a block captain, or if you have more questions, or if you know of someone who would be interested. We are really excited about this initiative. As we envision the impact that block captains will have in Norwood, we're looking to raise funds for a trailer to share amongst the block captains, loaded with all the accoutrements of a good party. Footballs, soccer balls, tables and chairs, lawn games, a PA system for some good music, gift cards for food, and funds to get something specific, special for that block's interests for their neighbors. As said by Joan Didion, a place belongs forever to whoever claims it hardest, remembers it most obsessively, wrenches it from itself, shapes it, renders it, loves it so radically that he remakes it in his own image. Norwood is not Norwood without its people. So let's get together and make it happen.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here this morning on this cold Saturday morning. We're just really, really glad that you're here. My name is Taylor Provence, and this is my husband, Jason Provence, and we have lived in Norwood for 5.5 years. We knew that we had made the right decision when a trip that we had planned shortly after moving into our home was extended by the unfortunate death of Jason's grandfather. So that trip from a week turned to 2 weeks, and we came home to a mowed lawn and our really sweet neighbors, Lois and Roger, coming over, asking us how we were. Makes me all shook, I've been talking about it. Asking us how we were, and telling us that they had watched our house for us. And they walked home, and I looked at Jason and I said, this is the place I want to be. I want to grow our family here. Let's get started. So we kept living in Norwood, and we realized rather quickly that we kept leaving Norwood. So we were living in Norwood, but we were going to experience life outside of our city. And on one of these occasions of leaving Norwood, I looked at Jason and I just said, what if Norwood had a market? And he just looked at me and then I just kept going. I said, what if that market was in the center of our city where community members from north, south, east, west could all get together? And what if at that market we had quality merchants selling unique goods? And then, I just keep going, what if those merchants realized their business was doing well here and they began to fill some of the vacant storefronts on Montgomery Road? I mean, what if all of that happened?
Now, what Taylor leaves out of the story is we were newly married. So I knew my answer could either go really, really well or lead to World War III. So when I have big questions like these, I become very reflective. So I started to reflect about our what-ifs. Like, what if we had never taken a risk individually to go down to New Orleans and rebuild after Hurricane Katrina? We would have never have met. What if, while we were down there, we would have never walked through an open air market and fallen in love? What if we had never moved to Norwood? What if, when we were in Norwood, we didn't see all these successful markets and communities getting together? And I knew that all of those what-ifs were worth it. So I said, go for it.
Yeah. So he said go for it, and I said, okay. And then reality sets in, as it always does. I'm an educator. I have the privilege every day of teaching some of our youngest learners. And this might be a surprise, but that does not prepare you to start a market. So I started thinking, though, about community, and I have to build community in my classroom as well. So I started thinking, well, what in Norwood is already going so well? There are so many nonprofits already building into our community. There are so many just people and groups of people who are building into our community. We have city officials that are building into our community. And so as I made this list, I realized that the thing that was closest to my vision was the Norwood Farmers Market. So in the summer of 2017, I went to the farmer's market and I just had to meet this Jeannie Sickinger lady. And I heard her story and I heard how she created this amazing community event. And after she shared her story, I told her my vision, my crazy idea. And she just said, you need to go for it and you need to meet Hillary Cannon. And I said, all right. So she walked me over to Hillary, told Hillary my vision as well, and she's like, yeah, we're going to go for this, and then we're going to also bring in Andrea Judy. And I think I met her a couple days later. I don't even think I got the full vision out when Andrea was like, yep, we're going to go for it. It's called Off Pike Market, November 5th, 2017. That's what we're going to do. I was like, great, done, check.
So yeah, November 5th, that was the only Saturday that I was actually scheduled to do something. I was with the Air Force Reserves that day, and usually those days are packed. I don't have any time, but for some reason this day I had moments in the day where I could check my phone. And I started to receive text messages, which I called intel from the field. They started out very safe. Hey, my parents are here. Hey, the vendors are here. Then they got a little scary. Hey, I think 200 people just walked through the door. Hey, we've ran out of food. And it was in that moment that I realized we had something bigger than our original vision.
Yeah. So it was quickly after November 5th that we realized we needed to become a nonprofit, so we did that too. And then Hillary, one of our board members, she said, you know, we're doing this thing called Norwood Quality of Life. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. Let's go. So we went to Norwood Quality of Life, and I saw the economic development table, and I went over there, and it was just so inspiring and empowering to just be sitting with a group of just residents who we wanted to share our dreams and our vision about Norwood. It was just so exciting. And we started realizing that maybe Off Pike Market could be a catalyst for the economic development in our city.
Yeah, so I was at the table with Taylor, seeing all of this happen, and more so I saw the connections being made. The connections we made with city officials, the connections we made with Bob Pickford and then George Wright, who successfully ran Finley Market for many years. And then encouraging us to reconnect with Jeannie Sickinger and kind of bring all of the markets under one umbrella. And it was with these connections that I knew we could make our dream possible.
Yeah. So, this is the part I get even more choked up. What if this could be our reality? I mean, what if this could be our reality, guys?
But we know realities take risks. You have to step through the what if. So I'd like to read a poem. It's about Alice in Wonderland, written by Shel Silverstein. And it starts, Alice, she drank from the bottle called Drink Me and grew tall. She ate from the plate called Taste Me, and down she shrank so small. And so she changed, while other folks never tried nothing at all.
So, we know there are a lot of what ifs still. We know there are a lot of risks with this. We know. But things like this will never happen if we just do nothing. So, thank you.
Positive growth will involve attracting businesses of all sizes, making it easier for entrepreneurs to improve the community. When it comes to economic development, this was the central theme of the responses that we received through the interview process of our Quality of Life Plan, which laid the foundation for that plan. I'm Lonnie Elfenbein. I'm the co-chair of the Economic Development Committee. Since August of last year, Dave Spackle and I have been working to develop and come up with ideas with our committee, such as helping the off-pike market, and which is a perfect example of what we're trying to do here in Norwood. While Norwood has been successful in attracting large businesses, we would like to do our part to really promote small and medium-sized ones. Our committee has been focusing on projects that aim to change this by addressing the following. Business development. One of the major barriers to entry when it comes to doing business in Norwood is that many entrepreneurs aren't even sure where to start. We feel that we can help by developing a one-stop guide to doing business in Norwood, and also promote regular events with Norwood, where individuals looking to do business here can meet directly with various Norwood departments and citizen groups to really help reduce these barriers. It doesn't stop with new businesses. We're also proud to promote and plan on looking into other endeavors that can help provide training and guidance to new businesses and endeavors such as the off-pike market. As far as business engagement, that's another one of our goals. Norwood is a home to many, many businesses, such as restaurants, beauty salons, comic book stores, and jewelry stores. All these are in the same block. Our second goal is really to help promote these businesses and the many other unique businesses that we have here in Norwood, both within Norwood and to our region. We plan on holding events such as business fairs, business tours, and creating a map of local businesses that can really help raise awareness and level of engagement here in our community. We really believe that business development is vital to the future of Norwood. We want to make sure that everyone knows that Norwood is open for business. Will you help us spread that word?
Hi, I'm Lindsay Matthews.
And I'm E. Matthews, and this is a terrible idea. But we wanted to introduce you guys to the inspiration for why we're standing with you here today. Our 4-year-old son, Felix.
Hi.
And our daughter, Maggie, who turns 3 in 9 days. Okay, so we get these kids out of here. So, when we bought our house, a 2-bedroom ranch, in Norwood over 8 years ago, we thought we'd find a place for a starter home. You know, that was affordable and was close enough to the more desirable neighborhoods that would last us for a few years.
What we actually found was a place with the perfect mix of a small town feel and big city amenities. Not just a place until we have children, but a place to raise our children. But even though we lived here for a while and we knew we wanted to stay, we really hadn't felt like a part of this community until about 6 months ago, when we accidentally.
It all started 2 years ago when we met Steve and Kristen Berkey, thank you for the kids, and you're going to hear from her in a few minutes about community engagement. We met at Bachfest when our sons were playing together, and we discovered that we both live in Norwood.
Flash forward 2 years, and we started running into them again at Norwood, Staples Lake, the Creamy Whip, and the Farmers Market, where we found out about the quality of life meetings. Kristen introduced us to Councilwoman Leslie Stevenson at the What's Happening Norwood booth, and being the go-getters that we are, we attended what we thought was a meeting where we would listen to others and maybe share some of our own insights.
Little did we know that 2 hours later, Lindsay and I found ourselves members of committees. And, of course, we both wanted infrastructure because, sure, let's get in the fight tonight. But mostly because we love playing outside with our kids, going on hikes, playing at the park. Lucky for me, Lindsay was gracious enough to let me have infrastructure, and she put her Lindner College of Business degree to good use in economic development.
From the outside looking in, the infrastructure committee, it was really neat to see how well citizens, city employees, and local organizations came together as one. City planner Greg Oros, former city attorney Chris Brown, Councilman James Bonsall, Susan Daniels from the Norwood Historical Society, Dana Bull from Keep Norwood Cool, and Eric Bryan from the American Legion all worked together right alongside community members that made up the rest of the team, like Ian.
We worked so well together that we even met a few times outside of the official meetings, swapping cafeterias for Hillary's diner. From those meetings emerged 4 main goals we've set out to achieve today. They are: improve the parks and community center, empower people to polish the gem, make roads safer and prettier, and maximize movement with walking and cycling. While we came up with a huge list of projects across the board, we tried to focus on 2 or 3 priority projects for each goal.
Did you know that we have 12 parks in our 3 square miles of Norwood? Unfortunately, all of them are at a various level of disrepair. We live right by Waterworks Park near Shea Stadium, which has 2 playgrounds that we walk to often. But there are days that the kids insist on going to the big park or the good park. And on those days we find ourselves driving right past the 2 walking distance parks to go to Oakley or Pleasant Ridge playgrounds. Why shouldn't Norwood be the place with the good parks and a community center that people are proud to visit?
Well, for the goal of improve our parks and community center, our 2 priority projects are clean and rehab the community center and the revitalization of our parks. We'd like to use last year's upgrades at Northwoods Park as a model for bringing all of Norwood's parks back up to their prime. At Victory Park, Project Champions Off-Pike Market, the American Legion, and the city are working on plans for a splash pad, crafted farmers markets, and someday maybe a beer garden to make the park a true destination for Norwood residents and for the surrounding community.
Most of these parks in the city in general have a decent core. The foundation is solid. We don't need to build brand new roads or brand new parks. We just need to reinvest in what we already have. It's kind of like an engagement ring. Whether it costs $500 or $5,000, a few years of raising kids that are 14 months apart will make any ring look tarnished, if not taken care of. But after a deep cleaning, this bad boy can give any ring a run for its money. Well, Norwood is the gem of the Highlands, and she needs a really good polish to shine again.
So, hence the name of our second goal, empower people to polish the gem. What we mean is giving the community more ownership of our infrastructure. Instead of waiting around for the city to clean up a park or even our streets, we want to encourage everyone to take action. Our first priority project is supporting the city's newly created Adopt a Park program, making sure that it allows individuals to take on park maintenance. You wish that busted swing seat would get replaced at your local playground? What if you could just replace it with community funds and the city's blessing?
The second project is to organize a city-wide cleanup every spring, beginning next month. This includes weekend encouraging residents to walk and clean their own neighborhood, with the following weekend filled with larger community projects like park cleanups. During the week, there will be education and outreach to Montgomery Road businesses, inviting them to take more ownership of their storefront appearance.
Well, there was no way we were going to make it through a Norwood infrastructure presentation without driving home this third goal. Make roads safer and prettier. A lot of our roads are in need of repair. People drive too fast on Montgomery Road, and the business corridor isn't particularly inviting to pedestrian traffic. Our priority projects are research and write grants for street maintenance, research street levies, similar to other communities in our region, and the creation of a complete street plan for the Montgomery Road corridor, starting with key intersections. Oh, hello.
Hi, baby. The team realized that there was an underlying thread running through each three of these goals, getting people out into our community to bring people together. A more walkable city encourages its citizens to interact with their own community. Nicer parks and a better business corridor gives those people places to go. More pedestrians and prettier streetscapes will slow vehicle traffic, improving safety. That realization led to the fourth goal, maximizing movement with walking and cycling.
This isn't going according to plan. The first priority projects for this goal will be the launch of a Norwood Healthy History Trail, multiple walking and running routes of varying lengths, all connecting at City Hall, that take residents on a tour of historic Norwood landmarks, thanks to the Norwood Historical Society. To build momentum, we're proposing a Walk Norwood Day to invite residents to get outside and walk their community.
The second project is to plant more street trees along roadways, including the business corridor. Keep Norwood Cool has provided data that shows that street trees reduce walkway temperatures on hot days. Trees closer to the street also have the benefit of looking good and slowing down traffic.
So, where do we begin? Well, we already started without you. The park revitalization began with Northwoods and will continue with Victory Park. We've begun to polish the gem with the creation of an Adopt a Park program, and city council members have already voiced their support for organized cleanup events. The farmers market gets walkers and cyclists out into our community already. We've been back there with the kids in the trailer.
Back in the fall, we were proud to volunteer with Keep Norwood Cool and Woven Oak to plant ginkgo trees in front of Williams Elementary on Make a Difference Day. In November, it was awesome to see hundreds of people break the cold for the first Gem of the Highlands 5K race in the off-pike market afterwards. And recently, Wasson Way announced that work on Phase 2 will begin this year to bring trail access to Norwood. We're excited for what's in store for Norwood's future.
And as much as Lindsay and I are not ready to think about our kids all grown up, we do think about the lasting legacy that the community agreement today could have for the city. We imagine 30 years from now, walking the grandkids to the farmer's market on a sunny Saturday morning, pointing to a row of trees and saying, "When your mommy was your age, she helped us plant those trees."
We imagine trying to explain to them, when we were their parents' age, all the vibrant storefronts that they see along beautiful Montgomery Road, that was just a thing of the past. That grandma, not ready for that, grandpa, and a whole community of passionate people worked hard to make that reality once more.
Hi.
Will you join us?
Will you join us?
Now I get to introduce you to Norwood's secret weapon, our housing. Please welcome Brad and Jennifer.
I came to Norwood with starry eyes. Maybe it was the bliss of being a newlywed and memories of our courtship at her apartment on Cortlandt. Maybe it was the church community we had here. Maybe the many friends who lived here. Or maybe it was the fact that it was 2008 and we were looking for something cheap. Anyway, we knew when we saw that gigantic brick duplex on Delaware Avenue that it was meant to be. We weren't deterred by the fact that it was a foreclosure, that the back door had been kicked in, the copper stolen. Instead, the architect in me saw potential. I saw a great old building with good bones that was originally designed as a duplex, that provided an opportunity for us to live in and rent out a unit. We also saw great things happening around us. a new coffee shop, the Speckled Bird, had opened in West Norwood. Surrey Square was getting ready to undergo a major transformation, and Upper Millcrest Park was showing promise. My name is Ben Eilerman, and together with my wife, we were hooked. So over the next 10 years, we purchased an additional 5 properties within a 6-block area that were all in need of major renovation. Now that amount of renovation has a way of taking the twinkle out of those starry eyes. So does a closed coffee shop, the frustratingly lackluster Surrey Square reboot, and the continued foreclosures and vacant properties that dot our neighborhoods. Stars aside, I firmly believe that this city has a great housing stock and that it represents one of our most valuable resources. And based upon the housing prices I have seen lately, so does the larger region. To tell you more about that, I'd like to hand it over to my colleague Jennifer McGillis.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer McGillis. I'm a licensed realtor with RE/MAX Preferred Group with almost 10 years of real estate experience under my belt, as well as the creator and publisher of the Norwood Real Estate Report, a monthly publication that features the most recent sales and statistics of the Norwood housing market. 5 years ago, I began talking to my investors and clients about Norwood and all the amenities that this city has to offer. We are a big city with a small town feel. Norwood is a tremendous value when comparing it to similar neighborhoods nearby. We are a walkable community with a current walk score of 80 out of 100, as well as access to public transportation. Norwood has its own city government, school district, police, and fire departments, which means easier access to community leaders. We have our own grocery store, gyms, restaurants, doctors, libraries, and shops. Norwood has a lot to offer. So I began focusing my professional time and marketing dollars here in an effort to showcase all the hidden gems in this city to my investors and clients. It was not long before more people started to notice everything Norwood has to offer as well. The growth we have experienced here over the past 5 years has been very exciting. In 2013, Thank you. In 2013, 166 homes were sold as reported through the multiple listing service. Sale prices for these homes range from $8,000 to $295,000 bed and breakfast at the end of Ida Avenue. Fun fact, that bed and breakfast actually belonged to the parents of my aunt. The average number of days a home spent on the market then, before attracting a buyer, was 91, and the average sale price was $116,844. Fast forward to 2018, and 313 homes were sold, as reported through the multiple listing service. Sale prices for homes sold during that year ranged from $25,000 to $380,000. The average number of days a home spent on the market before going under contract dropped to 27 days. That's a third of the time from just 5 years ago. And the average sale price jumped to $155,905. This is practically a new homeowner every day in 2018. With these new homeowners comes new tax dollars, new ideas for improvements, and new people to contribute their time, talent, and treasures to Norwood. So what do home values and prices look like in 2023 and beyond? While I can't say for sure, I do know it is incredibly exciting because it's up to all of us. We are on the precipice of the next chapter of Norwood. We have the ability to write and design exactly what we want Norwood to look like. We should be proud to be part of such an opportunity to create our future. In my professional opinion, Norwood is the hot neighborhood in Cincinnati right now. There is no denying that. So let's work together to expand. Let's work together to build upon this positive growth and continue to build into a community where future residents and businesses will be proud to call Norwood home. Who wants to join me?
Thanks, Jennifer. Those numbers are incredible, and I know I'm in. I also know that our housing team, a group of talented, thoughtful, and dedicated neighbors, are in as well. So this morning I'm here to ask, to demand really, that we respect this great asset of ours, and we do that by having a plan. we'd like to propose 3 guiding elements to a Norwood housing plan. First, we need to increase the home ownership rate to at least the national average, knowing that many times investing in a home equals investing in the community at large. As Jennifer just illustrated, this is something we're already seeing. We can continue this momentum by letting the larger region know what a great place Norwood is. I know we can make this happen. Second, we must decrease the percentage of vacant properties that litter our city. The opportunity for these homes is boundless. However, the cost of leaving these properties sit vacant, or worse, letting them fall into the hands of unreputable slumlords or flippers, is equally devastating. We must understand where these properties are and work to make sure that they are brought back into the fold. Third, we need to maintain the diversity of our housing stock that is here. From the large houses on Floral, to the bungalows surrounding Holy Trinity, to the shotgun on Mills, and that duplex of ours on Delaware Avenue. All of these have a place in our community. Additionally, we know that rentals of all shapes and sizes are necessary and that they have a place next to our owner-occupied homes. The key to all of this is necessitating that all of these options are of high quality and well maintained, while implementing policies that keep our neighborhood affordable. Diversity in our housing stock means diversity in age, race, and class of occupants as well. And finally, in order for any of this to be implemented, we need an organization that is dedicated to these goals. A local, Norwood-based community development corporation that is focused on real estate and planning issues is key to this. This CDC, like many others in the region, will be the local expert on real estate issues and will be the liaison between property owners, developers, the city administration, and outside funders to make these dreams a reality. The opportunity surrounds us here in Norwood, here in the gem of the Highlands. We just need to polish that gem. Thank you.
Buenos dias and good morning. My name is Lupe Gonzalez-Hoyt. Imagine for a moment, and we're going to be talking about inclusion. Imagine for a moment children playing in a park. Parents are nearby watching their children play while enjoying the adult conversation for a change. I pulled my car into the parking lot. My child was gleeful in the back seat, and she ran ahead of me to join the children playing. Children don't need introductions. They just want to play and be with other children. Our family was new to the community of Norwood, having just moved a few weeks ago. I found an empty bench to sit on and watched my daughter play with new friends. A small group of moms were talking at the end of the pavilion. One of them walked up to chat with me. She invited me to come meet her group of neighbors while the children played. They welcomed me and introduced themselves. They suggested, next time we meet, let's have a picnic. All of a sudden, I felt like I was at home. I felt like when I was back home in San Pedro, California, the LA Harbor area, where I was born and raised, where I had lots of friends, and we always had lots of activities. We had children who were from international cities, like in Italy, France, Norway, England, especially at the time when the Beatles were popular, they first burst the scene. We followed these English, British people everywhere just to hear them speak. It was fun. We thought they were actually related somehow. Anyway, English sounded understandable. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. Wrong page. I haven't had coffee yet. Moving to a new state was exciting, but I soon felt isolated, wondering if new friends would be as friendly as the school friends that I had and still stay in touch with every time I visit Los Angeles. We visited Cincinnati, we lived in Cincinnati in Hyde Park, but we were so happy to cross the city limits to live in Norwood. We have many friends here in Norwood who are like family to us. We found a great place to raise our children with events, the Norwood Day Parade followed by Norwood Day at Coney Island. I have found, as many of you know, it's one thing to be in a place versus being part of a place. Having a mindset of inclusion helps us engage newcomers to become involved in the community, as you've already heard. Norwood neighbors who reach out to us make us feel like we're at home. And I have joined various community organizations like the Norwood Business and Professional Women's Club. We have the Norwood Chamber of Commerce. I was amazed to know that Norwood had a Chamber of Commerce because it seems the city was small. We have everything. Anyway, we are also working on Community Engagement Committee to develop info packs for new neighbors and small businesses, welcoming people to Norwood. Did you know that there are 2 authentic restaurants in Norwood? Can you guess how many tiendas? Tiendas means stores, like a community neighborhood store. There are actually 3 of them here. There's one barber, which my grandson loves to go and have his hair cut there. We have, I'm not sure what the other one was. Did you know that a church on Indian Mound merged with an African American church that had low members, just as they did, and Hispanic members as well joined the church? Now, in my past, that is inclusion. That is a wonderful way to have an inclusion. Inclusion feels and looks like you belong. My family includes Navajo Indians, which is my mother, Mexican, which is my father. We have Spanish, German, Irish, and Filipinos, all part of our family, married into it. And we in Norwood, oh, excuse me. Next time I'm going to drink coffee. My friends vary from African American, Cuban, German, Irish, and El Salvador. We in Norwood all look different in the color of our skin, the shape of our nose, the texture of our hair. We have different accents in our speech, personal histories and experiences to weave into this tapestry of life living in Norwood. We need to lower barriers through interacting, sharing knowledge and information, and have shared experiences to bridges to close the gaps. Ultimately, we learn more about ourselves when we accept our neighbors. We are a mobile society, but one thing I learned is you can bloom wherever you're planted. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that story with us, Lupe. That's a great story, a perfect example of inclusion. And I'm sure through many years there are many stories like this in Norwood. And my name is Ryan. My family moved into Norwood just 2 weeks before the Great Flood. A movie about. Pretty soon, the Facebook group Norwood Strong was founded. And one Tuesday night, I saw a lady posting a picture of her basement flooded, and she was asking for help to move the stuff out of the basement. And before I got a chance to sign up to reply, over 20 people already went over there and finished the job. And those were some of my first impressions of Norwood. But then, as you know, Norwood Strong quickly morphed into something else. Very different. And I think that just testifies the potentials that we have and also the challenges that we have in this community. We have great potential to be loving and kind and inclusive, and yet we also have the incredibly drawn to negativity and suspicion. So if you live in Norwood for some time, I'm sure you have experienced both. And our group's goal was to create more stories like Blue Pace, and less stories of suspicion and negativity. So we're working to plan different meet and greet events throughout the neighborhood, throughout the city, for people in different neighborhoods to get together and meet each other, and hopefully some of those events hosted by ethnic minority establishments to celebrate and highlight their presence in Norwood. We're hoping to have, a couple times a year, we have international nights where people from different cultures get together and share their food and music and arts. I was born in China. We came to this country when I was 12. And Chinese New Year just happened this past Tuesday. It would be great to have Chinese New Year celebrations in Norwood here, or celebrations for Cinco de Mayo, Diwali, or Hanukkah. And last, if you go visit the inclusion table today, you will see that we are creating welcome bags that we hope to hand out, to pass up to new residents who move into Norwood. And these bags will highlight different businesses, events, opportunities happening throughout the year in Norwood. We want to welcome people into our city by telling them about all the good things happening here. And no matter where they come from, we want to make them feel at home. Now, all these are great plans, but they involve people, and when people get together, it's messy. So this is something that you could all do, whether you join our plans or not, is be a good neighbor. Invite people over for dinners and parties, especially people who you haven't met, or people who look very different from you. Talk to my friend Maggie and 7th block captain. Intentional neighboring. Be a good neighbor. That goes a long way of making people feel welcome and known. Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Kristen Berkey, and thank you all. I'm the last to present for this initiative. I've lived in Norwood for 7 years, and when we were looking for a home, we wanted to try to find a nice, walkable community with big historic homes and, a place to start a family, probably move 5 years down the road. Does that sound kind of familiar to some other people, right? But the course of that plan changed about 4.5 years ago. But I'll talk about that in a minute. I think my husband has said it best, that you can kind of live anywhere, but it's the connections to your neighborhood, your neighbors, friends, and the community that really make a place feel like a home. So over the last 4.5 years, we've been living within our city, working alongside our neighbors on various projects, hanging out with our neighborhood friends, because Norwood is my home. So what changed? It only took one opportunity to be the catalyst for my change. So 4.5 years ago, I heard about a group of neighbors who were working on a plan for vacant property along Williams Avenue. There was an old home that had been torn down, and that was a vacant lot. The plan was to create a community garden. So enthusiastically, we signed up, and we showed up, and were put to work. I was planting alongside this very outgoing and chatty woman who was telling me all about the great things to get involved with in Norwood. We'll introduce her in a minute. She invited me to the Norwood Business and Professional Women's Club meeting, and it happened to be the next week. That eventually led to my membership, becoming the program chair alongside her, and now joining her as her vice president on the board. That relationship led to meeting wonderful neighbors doing great things in our city, including this quality of life initiative. So thanks, Alice. Where's Alice? Thanks, Alice. For being so friendly, digging in the dirt with me and inviting me into this community. I joke that Alice, but it's not a joke, it's probably pretty true. I think Alice is one of a lot of people's first Norwood friends. So if you don't know Alice, and you haven't been to Norwood, introduce yourself to Alice. Let's talk about community, though. Community can be defined as a group of people living in the same place and having a particular characteristic in common. But I think it's the second definition of community that aligns with the purpose and emotion of this team and probably the reasons that you're all here today. It's the feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. Our Community Engagement Action Team strives to engage our current connect with each other through stronger and more centralized communication networks. So these are a few opportunities we're hoping will bring you out this year and hopefully for years to come to work collaboratively. 1, a historic home tour. This isn't a new idea, but other communities locally are hosting events like this. Just think about an event like this could highlight the architecture and history of the homes like we have here in beautiful Norwood. This is not a new idea to Norwood, but it hasn't happened in a long time. This can be a great way to meet your neighbors and to draw in new families to Norwood. Bonus, it could be a great fundraising opportunity for future community development ideas. 2, ideas for creatively using vacant storefronts for programs, maybe, or events. Let's think outside the box about vacant spaces available in Norwood. Imagine a pop-up art gallery along a vacant storefront on Montgomery Road. 3, creating beauty in vacant lots. Just think for a minute about the transformation of the corner of Williams and Ellesmere. It's now the home to the Williams Avenue Garden, the Little Library, and story time during the warmer months. But it took collaboration and communication to get this far. And collaboration and communication are imperative to engaging our community members to create and use these spaces. We hope to create a centralized communication strategy that includes all events happening in Norwood to further enhance our engagement. A few ideas we'd like to build on are creating ward community councils to help with building the relationships in our 4 wards. This would further develop the community connectivity. Welcome packets for new residents distributed by the block captains, as mentioned by Meggie and Ryan. And we hope to create a more concise and centralized community calendar of events, school, public, community, church, etc. So if opportunities like the ones that have been presented to you today by all of these wonderful people can help to build new relationships and future opportunities, then how will getting involved change your life? Let's imagine this together. So if you could do me a favor and stand, if I mention something that you're currently involved with or plan to be involved with, that would really help me out, okay? Okay, great, thanks. All right, so how has my life changed? I'm a block captain. Awesome, some faces I haven't heard before. We walk along our neighborhood talking to our neighbors. I shop at our off-pike market. I play with my family in our parks. We are investing in our home, and if we move, we will invest in another Norwood home. I'm a member of a Norwood organization or business. I'm engaged in our community. I'm proud to live in Norwood. I'm excited about its future. Norwood is my home. So say this with me if you're excited about Norwood's future. Norwood is our home. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy Schwab. I'm the director of the local disc office. I've been involved in this process, or watching this process, for the last 18 months, as Allison's been really involved. I want to welcome Mayor Williams and his wife, Mrs. Williams, and I'm so glad you're here. So glad you're here to hear this, because I've been involved in community work for over 30 years, and this is one of the best processes, the most dedicated, passionate residents. What a grassroots effort, and I'm very proud of all of you in this community. It's my privilege to introduce you, finally, your keynote speaker. Congressman Wenstrup was elected in 2012 to the Ohio's 2nd Congressional District, right here in Norwood. He brings experience as a doctor, as an Army Reserve officer, an Iraqi veteran, a small business owner, and all of these skills to help him tackle the economic and security challenges that face our nation in Congress. As a Cincinnati native, Brad graduated from Xavier High School and the University of Cincinnati. He went on to earn a medical degree in Chicago and has been a practicing physician for over 26 years, treating patients in Cincinnati. But during his time in Congress, Brad has been fulfilling his reserve duties as the medical policy advisor for the Chief of Army Reserve, as well as seeing patients at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Bethesda. Brad and his wife, Monica, reside in Cincinnati, and with their children, Brad Jr. and Sophia. Welcome, Congressman Winslow.
Oh, photo time. Oh, wait a minute, she's got to come over here now. She can't run away now.
He's a good guy. Oh, yeah.
Well, thank you all for being here this morning, and it's not lost on me that I stand between you and getting out and enjoying the rest of your Saturday. But I appreciate the opportunity to be with everyone this morning. I am so impressed, and you know, I got some planned notes here, but I just want to comment on what I've seen this morning, because it's really a dream come true. Because it's really so much of what I think we need across our country is to be engaged in our communities and to be there for one another. And you know, I grew up near here, as was mentioned. My parents still live on Cryer Avenue, which is between Observatory and Linwood and Hyde Park. That's where I grew up. I grew up at a time when you could get on your bike and your parents would say, be back in time for dinner, and they didn't know where you went. And I would ride that bike all over the place. I had a little basket on the back of my bike because I knew where all the places were people threw their pop bottles, and they were worth 2 cents, and I could get them, throw them in the back of my bike. And Carl's Deli on Observatory is where I'd take a wagon full of them down. My mom would say, okay, you got 10 bottles, 20 cents. You can get 2 packs of baseball cards. The other dime's coming home and going in the bank. It's a great place to grow up. And I would ride my bike all over the place. And I would ride through Norwood. And I can remember, you know, this is in grade school, my friend Tommy Thompson and I, we'd ride our bikes around. Then we'd go over to Buskin's. Buskin's had a little payphone outside. We both had a lot of sisters, and this is the time when you had one landline, rotary phone, and privacy was not an option. So we'd use that payphone to call our girlfriends from Buskin Bakery. So it's a great place to live. Limitless opportunity. It's a great geography. I mean, I can remember when the Norwood Lateral came into being. So as someone who was going out to Finneytown to St. Xavier, you know what a boost that was? To be able to hop on that lateral, get over to 75 and shoot right on up. Norwood's in a great location. I mean, if you do work downtown, if you work in downtown Cincinnati, easy to get there. You've got sports around you. You've got a major airport around you. But at the same time, just right here locally, what you're seeing is all these businesses growing, jobs that are close to home. And you can be there. You know, I grew up on a street where, similar to what you're talking about today, we close off the street and have block parties. Not that I want to go there. My dad's in the hospital right now. I went yesterday to see him. And who's sitting in the room? But our next door neighbor who moved away 40 years ago. That's what this is about. That's the opportunity we have. And as I see things change, you know, we're seeing shopping, groceries, entertainment, healthcare, everything's available. Safe community. I've spent time with the Norwood first responders, the firefighters, EMTs, police, and what a great job they do. What a great job to keep the community safe. And when I've seen firsthand their good works, it's not just about responding to something in need. They're reaching out. They're reaching out to try and enhance the safety of the community, to build relationships with the people of the community, the people that they serve. Reaching out to serve others. Educating on safety, prevention. And I want to thank you for the selfless service. I know some of you are in the room. If you are, stand up and be recognized, because I appreciate it. So there's a rich culture here, and we respect that in this country. And you know, we've got long-time residents and an influx of new young people. My district director for our office, he just got married, bought a house. Where are you buying your house? Norwood. Like, duh. And he's loving it. He's loving it. You know, I talk about, you know, the young and the old being here. Yeah, I've got some notes here, and I noticed who's working from an iPad or their phone and those that are bringing up notes, right? It's pretty clear. There's a community of around 19,000 people. Median age is 33. That's pretty impressive. There's been a lot of changes over the years, because I can remember when the GM plant closed and how devastating that was. And how empty that looked. And those of you that have been here a long time, you know, you remember that. And it had quite an effect, as many places across America have had that. You know, the district that I represent goes from here all the way to Portsmouth, Ohio, in 8 counties. And there's been a lot of that. This is a community that always and still has hard-working men and women that care about the community, that build the community. You know, just look back at what a great entrepreneur right here in Norwood, United Dairy Farm, right? You know, Carl Linder, having a dream. Founded it in 1938. First store in 1940. Still there, right? Right on Montgomery Road. Amazing what they've done. Yeah, but there were struggles when the plant closed, no doubt about it. But there was always this underlying current, in my opinion, the young person growing up, of a community we're going to make it. And we're going to make it on our own. We're going to get something done. And today, you're seeing that renaissance. You know, so many people, companies, coming together here. Blending what's been here for a long time with the new. I remember when I was in high school, Sorrento's was a great place to go. Quatman's still is. I was there on election day. That's where we had lunch, was at Quatman's. And I believe Stone's Lanes is still going, right? You know? That's been there forever. And you know, on the other side of things is beautiful Our Lady of the Holy Spirit Center, where my wife and I, we know we can go there 24/7 when we have a need and a desire to spend time with the Lord. You know, I got married 7 years ago. Yeah, I was old. First time for both my wife and I. We now have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. So all these things you're talking about, next generation, it really comes home to you. When you think that that's what you're really living for, that's what you're working for. You're working for today for them, but for what you leave behind for them. But how things have changed. So we got married 7 years ago, and you know, I trained in Chicago. I got a lot of friends from out of town and family members from out of town, and they want to come in town, and there was hardly a place to stay. Matter of fact, we had to book at the Marymount Inn, and when we got there that night, and I'm still in my military dress mess uniform, my wife's in her wedding gown, because we're not leaving on our honeymoon for 2 days, they lost our reservation. It's about 1:30 in the morning, and we can't get a place. We finally got one room over in Kentucky. We had to go over there, but look how that's changed. Just look at what's going on with Rollout and all the hotels that have popped up. It's not a problem today. The restaurants that we have, the medical facilities. This is Norwood. Many businesses, old and new, large and small. They're all looking towards Norwood, time and time again. And you know, when people look to a place, they're not just looking for the physicality or the geography, but they're looking at what is there for the people that make up their business. What kind of a community is this? And that's what's important. Norwood, you have a major university, Xavier University. Not many places can tout that. But I sit here today, and what I'm understanding and hearing is that you know that there's more that can be done, some that has to be done. Taylor, you were saying that we have some dreams that may seem far-fetched, but they're dreams that we're going to go for, and some things we know we can do, and you're starting to do them. The thing today is, what can we do? Let's do it. And will you join us? You move forward with a vision for your community that only you can do. Only you can do well, because it's where you live. You're balancing a little bit of history here. You've got young energy, optimistic young families, and those that have been here their entire life. But you've chosen to act, and you've chosen to participate on behalf of your neighbors, not just yourself. Gandhi once said, be the change that you want to see. And that's what you're doing. It's not always easy. It's not always easy to do it right away. You know, we all know that there's some people that would rather sit in front of the computer and complain and lash out, as opposed to getting up on a Saturday morning and being here saying, I want to make a difference, and I want to make some things happen. You're reaching out to your neighbors. You're talking to one another. You're not talking at one another. Mother Teresa once said, I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone across the waters to create many ripples. She never asked others to do her work. She did it herself. You know, I thank you for working together. We all get inspired by a lot of things some people have done, some people say. One of the ones that comes to my mind is a guy named Mike Spann. Mike Spann was in the Marines. He later joined the CIA. He was the first American killed in Afghanistan after 9/11. When he applied to the CIA, he wrote, I believe in the meaning of honor and integrity. I'm an action person who feels personally responsible for making changes in this world. Because if I don't, no one will. That's what you're all doing here today. You're here to try and make changes within your world for the better. You know, I served with a guy, Major John Pryor, MD, a trauma surgeon from Philadelphia. And he joined the reserves in 2004, but on 9/11, when that happened, he said goodbye to his wife and kids and drove to New York and went to Ground Zero and started helping people. Got back to Philadelphia and he thought, you know, I'm sitting here, I'm taking care of people that are shooting each other up in the streets. Why don't I help the troops? So he joined the reserves. We served together in Iraq in 2006. Actually, when we came back, he came to Cincinnati. We did a trauma conference at Bethesda Hospital. In 2008, John went back to Iraq on Christmas Day after attending church service. He was hit by a mortar and killed. John was a great guy. He was one that was there for everybody. He came to teach in Iraq. He came to serve. But one of the things that probably summed up who he was, and really I think who you all are here today, is summed up by a quote he had over his desk by Albert Schweitzer. I carry this card often. This is a picture of John in his scrubs. But the quote by Albert Schweitzer is, seek always to do some good somewhere. Every man has to seek in his own way to realize his true worth. You must give some time to your fellow man, even if it's a little thing. Do something for those who need help, something for which you get no pay, but the privilege of doing it. For remember, you don't live in a world all your own. Your brothers are here too. Thank you for not living in a world all your own. It's great to be with you today. I'm going to take this message. I'm going to take it on the road. Thank you all very much.
All I can say is thank you. I don't know about you guys, but I've had a lot of tears today, listening to people talk, a lot of laughter, but it's really emotional to me to feel all of you and all of these young people who want to work to make our community a better community. So right now, if you're a table host, we'd like to ask you to step out. When you leave, you're going to receive a brochure which has a summary of the plan. It also has our partners, a little bit more about Norwood. I think you'll really like the plan. Inside, there is a schedule of upcoming events. If any of you want to participate in those, you're welcome to join. As you leave, if you haven't already, take time to view the display tables out in the lobby, and you can ask questions, you can sign up the email list if you want to join, or if you just want updates. We want to be in touch with you, and as many people as you know, we want to be in contact with them about what we're doing. Thank you so much again for coming. Now, let's get moving for Norwood's future.